Hello everyone, you're watching Newegg TV. I'm Jennifer, and I'm going to be giving you an overview on these Rosewill Legacy V6 cases. Now, these are Mini-ITX cases for your small form factor applications. First up, the accessories. You get a user manual with your installation instructions and a baggie of installation hardware, including some hard disk drive mounting screws, power supply mounting screws, and cable ties. All right, the front of the case is one solid bezel with this airflow mesh on the front. It's very aesthetically pleasing and pretty simple in its design. For dimensions, we have 9.8 inches by 9.4 inches by 8.2 inches, or 250 millimeters by 240 millimeters by 210 millimeters. Coming around now to the right side, we have one more air ventilation cutout here. And then around the back side, we have a 140 millimeter fan. Also, this is where your I/O shield will connect, and two expansion slots. This is for your power supply connection into the wall. As you notice that there isn't a gap back here for the power supply. It's underneath the front bezel, which I will show you in just a moment. Coming around now to the left side, we have one more air ventilation cutout. All right, here's a look at the top of the case. We have a USB 2.0 port, your microphone and headphone jacks, a USB 3.0, and a power button, which is illuminated by an LED. Coming around now to the bottom of the case, you have 4 half-inch rubber feet. Well, these are rubber, these are kind of rubber and alloy, as well as you can see where the mounting points are for the motherboard, but we'll get into that in the inside. Underneath the front bezel, I'll pull out the wires here, so you have all your wire connectors mounted to the front. Underneath, we have the cutout for your power supply. This is where it's going to be mounted. Now, you can mount a standard ATX PS2 power supply unit in here, but be sure when you do that you flip the on switch on the power supply. Most power supplies are fitted with, a manual on and off switch, but be sure that you do that before you put the front bezel back on. Otherwise, your computer won't start, and then you'll wonder why, and then you'll be mad at me for not telling you. This is where you're going to plug in your power supply unit. This is the pass-through to the back power connector. At the bottom, we have 3 60 millimeter fan mounting points for additional ventilation. Before we move on to the inside, I did happen to notice here on the back that there is a little cutout here for a fan speed controller. Now, the pre-installed 140 millimeter fan does not include its own, but if you upgrade to a different fan that has one, they've thought that out for you so that you can install the switch right here, and they've even marked it H for high and L for low. I've removed the 4 thumb screws so we can take the whole outside of the case off. And this is mainly to make installation very easy because the hard drive racks are in kind of various places around this case. So first up, along the top, we have room here for 2 either 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch hard drives or SSDs, whichever you're going to be using. And then around on the other side, we have another cage where you can do 2 or possibly 3 stacked 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drives, depending on how you configure them. I would probably just go with 2, that way you get some ventilation in between them and not accidentally cook them. It's so fun with these small cases. I can just spin them around however I want to. All right, so on the bottom we have the standoffs for the motherboard are pre-installed at the bottom of the case. And as I mentioned before, your power supply unit is going to mount right here, so that is going to leave a little bit of kind of reduced room for some other things over here. So that means you can't have a CPU cooler any higher than 65 millimeters, but with a small form factor board and a small form factor case like this, that should be a pretty substantial CPU cooler still. And your display card can't be any longer than 200 millimeters. So bear that in mind when purchasing your components. Even though I didn't mention it, I'm sure you can see that the interior of this case is fully painted. And one feature I do want to point out that's a little non-standard but still very beneficial is the back of the fan has its own kind of grate cover on it. And this is to prevent any wires that you have or cables from accidentally brushing against the fan and preventing it from working correctly while the system is operating. And I thought that was really thoughtful, so I wanted to point it out to you. Alright, well that wraps up this overview of the Rosewill Legacy V6 Mini-ITX cases. If you've liked this video or found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our various YouTube channels. Until next time, I'm Jennifer, and thank you for watching Newegg TV.